did a little too, I think I did it, started out with 10 seconds and then it was right on time.
We
Did it
got
show
it.
up for you?
We got it.
Okay.
We're
Well,
live.
welcome. Welcome everyone to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. My name is Greta Russo and this is Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant, please introduce yourself.
Yes. Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm a veterinarian. Thank you for following along and joining us. I'm a veterinarian and I work in the airline industry. I work with Delta Airlines and I've been on staff with them for the past few years. But within that role, you can say, why would an airline hire a veterinarian? Well, because the animal transportation is highly regulated, and having a veterinarian with that background to assist with ensuring compliance with all the regulations behind animal transportation is really important. So that's what I was brought on staff to do. I love doing what I do, but in that role, I started noticing that there's things that pet owners could do potentially to better prepare their pets for air travel. So I started my own platform to share pet-centric travel education. Greta and I have been joined together for the past 4 years doing our Facebook Lives. But prior to that, I started during pandemic, just maybe a Facebook group. But with Greta adding on, gosh, we've expanded. I have a website that's winpets.com. I have social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube page, and we do these Facebook Lives. And we initially thought we were going to do these just focusing on just pet travel, sort of pet travel, more for the pet owner focus, but it's expanded. We basically have guests on here that shares information about, as I always say, the different stakeholders in the animal transportation industry. Last 2 weeks, we had individuals talking about different modes of transportation through jet services, transporting pets that way. Prior to that, my goodness, we've had folks talk about nutrition. We've had pet shippers on here, and we've had someone on here who's with us again to talk about service animals, which I think is an extremely important topic to discuss as far as people traveling with their service animals. So Blake is here again, but before we go there, Greta, please introduce yourself and let's discuss any current events you want to talk about.
Hi, everyone. My name is, I was about to say Dr. Nelva Bryant, but I'm Greta Russo. I promise. Had a brain fart there. So I'm Greta Russo, and I help Dr. Bryant with a lot of her marketing and messaging and getting really pertinent information out to the world. So that's my role here. And it's been a lot of fun. We started off thinking we were just going to focus on pet parents. Then we thought we were just going to focus on the United States. And we now, after 4 years, we are, as you mentioned, touching on, pretty much everybody that's a part of the animal's journey as they fly from one destination to the other. And also, our reach has become worldwide. We are in more than 10 countries around the world, and we're really excited about that. So thank you, everyone, for following along and for recommending us to your friends to learn more about the information that we're sharing. Speaking of worldwide news, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things, Dr. Bryant, because it's, since the new travel season is coming up, which is the holiday travel season, I wanted to make everyone aware of a couple of different things. So Europe let me get my post ready. So Europe is now doing away with passports, and they're doing entire body scans to help you enter into a country. So this is taking place not in about 2 weeks on October 12th, which is pretty exciting. I haven't seen them yet. But my only question is, and maybe you know this, Dr. Bryant, working at Delta Airlines. I know that's not an airport, but you're at the airport. But okay, so people who travel with their pets, will they bring the pet through this as well, or will they need to set up an appointment with Europe's version of TSA to go get a private scanning. Do you know offhand?
Not sure. I would imagine, my guess would be that they would have to do still a private scanning or something in place for people traveling through in cabin with their pets with it. That's very interesting. So I wonder, I mean, what are they doing as far as scanning with this? Did you read further? Is it, look, retinal scan? I mean, what are they doing?
Yes, so it's a full body biometric scan to identify you instead of just the stamping, giving you a stamp for your passport and looking at your picture. So now it's like your bodily features are now being scanned and stored, and that's the way of identifying you. So I did look up a couple of things. Number one, TSA is only in America. However, countries in Europe, they do have their own security agencies and regulations, even though it's not TSA. But what you'll want to do if you're traveling with a dog in particular or a cat is you'll want to reach out to their version of TSA and ask them, now that these biometric scanners are in place, can I set up a private room, or is there more instruction that you can give me? I think the last Facebook Live you mentioned there's a TSA Cares that people can reach out to, and I'm pretty sure these other places have the same type of answering service to answer questions like that as well. But to read more on that, let's see, on that, oh, I don't think I have it. Do I? Yes. To read more on that, it says starting October 12th, 29 European countries will be phasing in the new entry-exit system, replacing traditional passport stamps with biometric data collection at each border. The system is designed to modernize border controls, speed up entry, and improve security. However, travelers will no longer receive physical passport stamps as souvenirs of their trips. The change will apply across much of Europe, including countries such as France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Greece, Switzerland, and more. So that's what was reported on behalf.
My passport's sitting right here, right now. You mean to tell me I can't get a stamp anymore? I can't, go through and say, I was in Dubai. I can't. That stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a reason behind it, but I think for those that do travel and have passports, I mean, it's an honor. It's like, hey, I got stamped. I went there to a country. So,
yeah, absolutely. But I did see there's this new bracelet where you can collect the flags of each country. So if people are into having that type of souvenir stuff, they can certainly go there and get that as well. The other story that I wanted to bring up, which is also about a European country, is Italy. So let's see, Italy to launch first flight with large dogs in cabin. So I thought that was pretty cool because I'm a large dog girl. The first plane to embrace Italy's new travel rules, allowing large and medium-sized dogs in cabin, will take off next week. Transport Minister Matteo Salvini said on Wednesday. The move comes a few months after the Transport Ministry loosened the rules with the approval of Italy's Civil Aviation Authority, ENAC, to allow large dogs to travel in the cabin alongside their owners instead of in the hold. Until now, airline companies have had varying rules relating to the transportation of pets, with many low-cost carriers prohibiting all animals in the cabin except for guide dogs. So what I read did not indicate, if this was just airline specific, but it does sound like all Italian airlines are allowing this new rule, which I personally think is pretty cool. But question to you, Dr. Bryant, maybe you know this. planes that are coming from America, like Delta, United, American, if they're going to Italy or leaving from Italy, do they follow the same rules because they're in a different country, or do they stick to their own American rules?
We're U.S. carriers. It will be our rules.
Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
I was hoping. I thought maybe it's when in Rome, do what the Romans.
yeah, no, it's based on the carrier, and these are U.S. based carriers, so that rule would have to be here for us to decide that. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tried.
Who knows what the future holds? That's all I could say. Who knows what the future holds in reference to that? But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that it's changing, and it's changing internationally. I hate to say this stuff, but it seems as though to me a lot of the things as far as travel and regulations, or even awareness, I think it's more common to know the requirements for pet owners, know the requirements more in international locations in the U.S. I think we're in the U.S. I think we're a little bit behind the loop in reference to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it might be because I talk about IATA a lot, the International Air Transport Association. Well, a lot of folks think IATA is just a manual or whatever, but actually the regulations in IATA has been adopted in many of the European countries already. So it's already standard here. In the US, a lot of airlines or a lot of people in general have thought that IATA is just like for trade, or it doesn't apply to, because it's international, it doesn't apply to for the US because we're domestic and whatever. So they don't think it applies, but actually it's the global standard for transporting animals. And it actually is very, very good. But again, because of the name and term, there's a lot of individuals who don't feel that IATA applies to US domestic transport. But again, they provide the global standard. And also add again that a lot of the regulations that are in IATA for live animals is adopted in their governmental regulations already. So
absolutely.
Well,
yeah. Well, Europe had a really great summer with a lot of new rules that have loosened up. Australia just this week had their first flight with Virgin that was allowing dogs in the specified rows. So Australia, they said it's on I apologize, Virgin Australia, the planes, not to confuse with Virgin the ships, but
but every time you say that, because I want to go on one of their cruises so bad, but yeah, no,
I know. But it's great to see how over in Europe and other countries that they are just expanding, and hopefully here in America we can watch how things go for them, and hopefully not too long later we'll follow along with the same types of ease of changes in our rules as well. Yeah. So, but to shift gears for a second, I'm excited to bring on Miss Blake Woody, who is our guest. We are going to dive into the world of service dogs, correct me if I'm wrong, is it just service dogs, or can there be other animals that are service animals? Well, she popped in as soon as I said that.
So by ADA law, mini horses can be service animals, but they're just not, you don't see them as often. We focus on canines with Certify Canine, but you can see mini horses as service animals on airlines.
Okay. So why does it only have to be mini horses? Like, can't typically regular horses can be therapy animals, but they can't be service animals?
It's size. You're not going to bring a 1,000-pound horse like in the grocery store. While they would be great at that, the mini horses are the size of dogs. They're usually used for mobility. So because of their sturdy stature as a small mini horse, they're usually used for a full human to be able to brace on them. They're not common. I got to be honest. They're not as common as you would see, but it's size dependent.
Yeah. Well, before we jump in, let's get her introduced because Blake has been with us before, but reintroduce her again, and then I'm going to ask you a series of questions that my brother-in-law Kevin Surratt just asked me the other day about service animals, and I'm going to ask those same questions so he can hear it again from another source.
Sounds good.
I don't know if he second guessed me or not, but I figure let's let you answer it, respond to it too. So you hear it twice, it's true, basically. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let me introduce you to everyone once again, Miss Blake Woody. But today's guest is Blake Woody, a seasoned dog trainer and founder of Certify Canine, an organization redefining what it means to certify working dogs in the real world. With over 15 years of experience training domestic and exotic animals, Blake has worked with hundreds of dog handler teams specializing in service, therapy, and facility dog readiness. Her approach is rooted in real-world integration, not just obedience, but building trust that holds under pressure. After recovering from traumatic brain injury, Blake experienced firsthand the life-saving impact of a well-trained service dog. The moment sparked a mission to raise the bar across the industry. Through Certify Canine, she's created a national certification and insurance-backed process that supports working dogs and their handlers every step of the way. Today, we're diving into what makes a truly reliable working dog, why certification matters, and how Blake is helping reshape the standards for dog-human teams everywhere. Please, everyone, help me welcome back Miss Blake Woody of Certify Canine. It's taken a long time to get our clap machine, so I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, it has.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again, Blake. Again, there's a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions people have regarding service animals, and I think that's a major topic, especially since the ruling changed. I believe it was 2021, as far as differentiating the emotional support and the animals versus the service animals and everything in the airline industry. With those rulings, you'd be amazed. There's still people that don't realize that it's changed, that you can't put an emotional support animal in cabin as he did prior to 2021 and everything. So those are issues that comes up quite often. And then also with pet ownership changing, and roles changing, and you say with our Greta being our resident cat owner and everything, but things have changed over the years. I've heard questions of people asking, as far as we're saying service animals. You said it could be a miniature horse, be a dog. What about potentially being a cat? What about if I've got a service animal that's a rabbit? I don't know. But let's just talk about all the different, what service animals are, which ones can be and not, and go from there. And I'm sorry, I want to make sure we hit your questions too, but it's just something that just popped up. And again, this is based on questions from my brother-in-law as well too. So
yeah, it's good questions. So ADA made the decision that it's canines and miniature horses due to training and accessibility. There's been a lot of pushback in the service community of like, what about primates? The smaller monkeys. What about cats? What about birds? Because they have varying levels of intelligence and can be trained to do tasks for humans. I'll be honest, I don't know the legislation behind ADA of why they chose only dogs or only miniature horses and not opening it up to a wider spectrum. More than likely it's due to health concerns and to having it not be misused. Dogs really only have come around since the mid 70s. We've had dogs in our society for much longer, but in that ADA perspective, that's where they've limited it to that. Now, I've seen a lot of people push for cats, birds, and even monkeys, but again, it's right now the standard and what that legislation stands as is just those dogs and just those mini horses.
Now, just to interject for 1 second, so we can go back to the questions. So in my introduction that I did for you, Everybody knows or should know what a service dog is. Everybody should know what a therapy dog is. But you have listed here facility dog as well. Can you just define that real quick so people know what I said in the intro?
It's a good question. So facility dogs, I like to joke they're therapy dogs on steroids. They are therapy dogs that are trained for a specific environment. The most common ones that you'll see are ones that are in hospitals, especially like children's hospitals. They're trained to lay on a child to provide deep pressure therapy while the procedure is happening. That's something that takes additional training and support, and usually the owner is a staff member of the hospital to provide that specialized comfort. But you can see facility dogs in police departments when there's a crisis response. Sometimes they'll have a facility dog, which is a therapy dog with that police department, show up and help comfort the victims or even the officers or workers within the department. So there's the therapy dogs that love on everyone, but then there's the facility dogs that are therapy dogs on kind of steroids. They're on for a specific environment that they're trained in.
Like the court dogs or
Yep.
the dogs that are at airports, they're all to help people and their anxiety, correct?
Yes, that's exactly
Okay.
correct.
Okay, back to Dr. Bryant's questions.
No, like I said, that's good that you gave that differentiation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we said miniature horses potentially, but I don't think airlines. I think their size is going to be not conducive in cabin trips. Make some major changes as far as configuration, but that will be really difficult to have them in cabin.
Yeah, you don't see many. If I think I've seen in total in my 15 years, I'd seen 3. And those were very specialized situations. So it's most often you're going to see a dog in that capacity.
Oh, very interesting.
Absolutely. So, Blake, why don't you go into sharing with us the origin story of Certify Canine and what inspired you to launch your company and what gap were you trying to fill?
So you mentioned it in my introduction, but I had a traumatic brain injury about 14 years ago. And at that time, I was already working in zoos and training dogs, but that brain injury really put a pause on my life. And as I was going through therapies, I had a very small miniature Pomeranian that would alert me about 15 minutes before I would have a seizure, essentially. And we didn't pick up on it, myself and my family didn't pick up on it until like a couple weeks in, where I'm like, he's pawing me pretty aggressively. And it was so consistent that if I took my preventative medication that 15 minutes when he first alerted me, I didn't have that seizure. I was able to stand my feet longer, go about my day longer. And because of that, I went, oh, he's alerting me for this. This is so cool. This is a service dog behavior. And then I started researching how to make him a service dog. How do I look in service dog worlds? And as a kid, I always liked, I was introduced early on. I had a teacher that was a guide dog puppy raiser. And so we had a cute little fluffy golden retriever in a 3rd grade classroom that every child could not touch, which is torture for both the puppy and the kid, but it was great exposure practice. And so that's where I was always like, oh, okay, how do I do that? Now as an adult and when I was training, I realized it is the Wild West in dog training, not only just for dog training, but also for service dogs. There's not a lot of, there's the main organizations that have been the spearheads, and those are the ones that you see for like guide dogs for the blind and things along those lines. But what about the other disabilities that we can have as humans? My brain injury, while I'm healed now, that was a disability at that time. And so it was really hard to find more information. So I started the company. I started searching for the company that now became Certify Canine. And through the years, I realized, hey, there's organizations that certify therapy dogs. There's organizations that will train service dogs. But how do you know the difference between what is real and what is made up? What is, you can go online and register a pen or a stuffed animal as a service animal, and you can get the patches and the cards and all that fun stuff. But how do you know it's real? And we've all seen, every single person I have talked to that knows anything about dogs or seen dogs, we all see the dog, usually it's a white fluff, no discrimination against white fluff dogs, but it's the little white fluff dog that has a vest that's on a retractable, that's pulling 30 yards in front of their owner, that's wrapped around someone's other suitcase, so they're peeing on stuff that they're not supposed to. And you're like, that's not a service dog.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so how do you know? And when I did research for ADA and things along those lines, I can do certifications. I know how to train public access. I've trained many people with public access, but how do you know what's real and what's not? And I took a leaf out of the therapy dog organizations that are out there. So there's two main ones that have been around for about 30 years. And what their whole thing is, besides making sure that people get to experience the human animal bond, is that they cover the dogs in insurance. It is one master policy that all of these individuals have tested for. And then there's backing. So unfortunately, in our society, everyone is sue happy. Where is the liability? Where is the legality of it? So with these animals, they have this insurance that reduces that risk. So when I was looking for service dog insurance, it took me 12 years to find an agency that said, we can have a conversation. Most
Wow.
agencies deny service animals. They deny the liability claim. And if you look for animal liability claims right now, they'll cover dogs that have bitten people, but they will not cover dogs that are trained to such an extent to be in public and help their human. And it's such a gap in not only in the insurance industry, but also in the animal training industry. I, as myself, as a trainer, can have liability insurance, but what about my team that's a handler? They're living their day-to-day life. So I found a partner who helped me have a 2-year conversation with underwriters at an insurance company. And I learned more about insurance than I care to omit, to be honest. But it was really talking to them about what actual training goes into and how these dogs are reliable when we talk about consistency and proofing. And that's where Certify Canine was born. And so now it is the process of showing people, hey, there's an insurance that's out there that can give them that liability, but it also is accountability. We're not just doing this to put everyone on insurance. It's truly to have, hey, not only did I did third-party testing, but I'm covered. So it reduces the risk of, on the airlines, you'll hear stories of people being bit mid-face. I think there was a woman that got bit like over the Atlantic, and they had to divert the plane back. And so that's where, hey, can we help provide a peace of mind that these animals not only are covered, but they've also passed that testing that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Very
So
interesting.
let me ask you, if I'm hearing you correctly, I hear your company as a place that I can go to with my service dog to provide liability insurance for me and my dog. But I wanted to also ask you, do you provide, like before I can get the insurance and just sign up and pay for it, do you also provide training for the human and the dog so that you can certify them?
We provide, so it's a yes and no question. So Certify Canine provides education on what we look for, what the public access test looks like, what task verification looks like. We do a lot of education in that capacity. We have certifiers throughout the United States that are honestly, all of them are trainers. They're all trainers that have done service dog work. They've proven that they can produce what we look for in training, and then they help get their clients or others into that world. Now, we actually just split off part of an arm of our company and did Canine Training Collective as a training company that does the training for public access and service work and things along those lines. We do all training as well, but we actually just split that off in July because we've had so many requests of, hey, we love this, but how do I get there? So Certify Canine still focusing on the standardization and testing part, but our other arm does do the testing.
Oh, okay, one more time. So you have one part that trains and tests the dog and the handler, and then you have another part that covers it with insurance, covers the team?
Yeah. So Certify Canine does our testing. We do the testing and verification that you can do the tasks that are needed, and provides that qualifier into insurance. And then our other arm, Canine Training Collective, does the training and education to help you get into Certify Canine or know what you need to do. And what we like to tell, and what I like to tell every person is, you do not need us. That's probably bad business perspective, but you don't need us to have a service dog. What we're doing is helping hold a standard in the community. So we've had clients that come to us that will do the training, but decide that they don't want to do the certification. And that's okay. It's not required by federal or state law, but we want to make sure that everyone is educated and supported. So something to think about too.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions, Dr. Bryant?
Just very interesting, just a thought. I mean, I'm just thinking back to some other things you mentioned. I would imagine it's really, times have changed. As you said, 15 years ago, being into this, and things have changed as far as ADA and what's recognized as a disability compared to what was back then. I mean, and then trying to say, get a dog or miniature horse that's trained to supplement that individual with that disability. So things have really significantly changed over the years in reference to that. So training will be really extremely difficult. I mean, yes, you've got the guide dogs for the blind. I mean, that's straightforward, right? But think about all the different disabilities, post-traumatic stress disorders, seizure detection, as you're saying there with that's being more prominent. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it's really changed significantly over years, and the training involved for these dogs.
It's visibility. So there's been a lot of, on the positive hand, there's been a lot of more acceptance of service dogs in public, but there's also been a lot more acceptance of disabilities, the invisible disabilities. When you see me in public, you don't think that there's anything wrong. I look like a healthy adult woman, but I have my own fun disabilities list, and it's like my dogs that I have personally, but also dogs that I train. They can alert, they can help support me, and they're something that is like a helper. I like to talk, when I talk with other trainers, that the invisible disabilities really are where dogs shine. The obvious ones, yes, makes sense. There's actually a social media dog in Switzerland. He's a greyhound, and his mom, she talks about, I don't look blind. There's a guy in New York who's also has a dog from Guide Dogs is Blind. And he's like, I don't look blind. So everyone assumes, like, why do you have a dog? Are you training that dog? And really what it is no, that's their dog. That's the dog that's helping them live their lives and giving them confidence. Invisible disabilities can be wide and varied. I have clients that have young children that have, scent detection, so diabetes, seizures, things along those lines, but it can also be mental health focus. Unfortunately, our world is struggling, and there's a lot of rise of mental illness, and dogs can help support us and calm us and ground us in that capacity. The training itself, I like to break it up into two pieces. What is the expectation in public? So public access, being calm, having neutrality in public, but then task-based training. And task, that's where dogs, it doesn't matter breed, it doesn't matter size, that's where they really shine, especially when you find the right dog with the right person. It's hilarious because dogs will be trained for 2 or 3 tasks, but then they will develop their own with their handler of going, okay, I know these are what I've been trained to do, but let me do these other things that you need because I can see it. Like, dogs are hilarious in that capacity.
Yeah, there's a clip I've seen of this one
That's
being trained, and the dog, it was a German Shepherd, and he was just doing the most. It was like pulling and all these other things. Like, okay, not every dog. I mean, not saying he could not become a good, trained well, but not every dog is meant to do that. For their just personality-wise, they're just not, and it's nothing against them. You can find another task for them. Maybe they're just meant to be a good pet, but specific for them to do what they're doing. Really, personality of the dog is different. It's funny you brought up earlier about the white fluffy dog with the vest on. There's a lot of folks that will purchase vests to try to get around the system, to say they're service animals. They don't realize the vest really isn't a requirement.
Correct.
To be a service dog, but in their mind, this is how I'm going to get over. But how we figure out they're false is, again, the actions of that dog. They're running ahead. They're sniffing everything. They're doing everything that a normal pet would do, not what a service dog that's in training would do. So there
was a meme on social media where a lot of service dog handlers were taking their dogs off leash and like going to like a mall or an airport and going, look what I can do. And while it does show the difference in training, it also shows Like the service dog world and handlers just want to kind of be left alone with their dogs. And there's so many people that will reach out and try to touch a dog, especially if I have a fluffy golden with me. I cannot tell you how many times I will get people that will stop me or try to touch the dog. Now, if I have a big German Shepherd, people leave me alone because, oh, that's a scary dog.
Right.
But even like I've gotten questioned when I have like the little guys, like truly and honestly, the little itty bitty guys that can be legitimate service dogs. People are like, that's not a service dog. And I'm like, it is. It's just pocket size. It's an interesting world where we just want our communities to understand, hey, this is the expectation and how do we help it? And it's education is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys bring that up because I just saw this morning a video where someone created this in honor of Service Dog Month. And he had two different people go into a store. And so the store owner at first I don't know why my computer just automatically threw that question up there, but anyway, so the first person, the store owner, asked the guy, he had a big dog, I think it was a German Shepherd, and he said, well, oh, you can't bring that dog in here. And the guy said, oh, I have this is a service dog. And the store owner asked one of the two approved questions. And, the guy answered it, and then he came on in. The second person was a woman with a fluffy white Pomeranian, and she tried to walk in, and he asked the same question to the woman, and she not only could she not answer it, but she got offended that he asked. And so I think, number one, there's education all across the board that can be given. Number one, I think everyone needs to learn what the one question or two questions are that you can ask, because a service animal is a tool that is an aid for someone with a disability. So, they're protected by law with what you can ask. And number two, the people with a service dog should know what they can say without giving away their whole story, and feel comfortable with that. So, I think to what you're both saying, there is some education to send out across the board. There was another video I saw, this was a long time ago when we were first bringing you on, and I was upset about it. I sent it out and everybody else was upset, but it was a woman who got in a Uber without a vest, and the Uber driver was giving her a hard time. And so, I actually looked up what Uber's rules were and, spoke back on that. And, which is, we do not deny anyone with a service dog. And when they answer the question properly, that of course is like the test or the secret phrase or, stuff like that. So, but the driver didn't know and was still trying to push that passenger out of the car. So I think to both what you're saying, a lot of education needs to be pushed out about service dog etiquette, so that people with service dogs can just live their lives.
Yeah.
Totally
agree. And that was me. I'm sorry, Greta. I want to make sure we get through Blake's questions that we had, that's under, I had put it up and everything because I realized the time we are getting. Time flies. Have you noticed time flies when we're on these sessions? They go so fast. And I want to make sure we get all the questions ready, Blake, with it. But I mean, to me, again, we can go on just different topics, but I mean, valid point there. There's a series of questions that you're allowed to ask. And again, I don't want to go too far into say etiquette, but that etiquette is truly needed for everyone in every sector, anyone in a commercial, in industry, working with people that encounter individuals with their service animal. You need to understand how to address them properly, and everything. And if a person gets offended from those questions, those basic questions that you're allowed to ask, if a person gets offended, that's giving you an indicator right there that they don't have a service animal with them. because if they really truly had it, they would know that that's an expectation. And no one's asking you to define everything, but what does a pet do for you? I mean, what does a dog do for you? I don't know.
It's okay. And that's the other part that needs to be done is taught. How do you, when you do say no, what do you offer? How do you de-escalate? Like everyone just lets, there's a mall in Arizona that lets every dog in, like honestly, every dog in, and they don't question it. And like, it makes it easy to train there, but at the same time, hey, there needs to be upheld a standard. And that standard is, what do you do when you say no? How do you de-escalate? How do you educate? How do you help a person understand, hey, not at this time? And it's your dog has to be manageable in public is usually the biggest thing that I teach businesses when I come in and teach etiquette. It's, hey, how do you de-escalate this to say no? And how do you give that person something to move forward with? Because no one wants to hear no. No one wants to be told, no, you can't do this. So how do you do it, ethically, but also to encourage them to do some education too?
Absolutely. Sorry, I was rambling, Dr. Bryant. I really, truly thought it was my computer going crazy. So,
yeah. No, I was trying to move. Like I said, time goes so fast, and I just want to make sure we get through some of the things here. But again, I mean, we're centered around the same topic here. Again, there's a lot of confusions behind it. The education piece is good. Really, the important part of it is, again, if you want to bring your pet in public, I mean, just recognize that you potentially, just say, pretending your dog is a service dog, you really could potentially be impacting the individual that truly needs their service dog with them. And that's bad. And there should be a responsibility behind it. Realize you're interfering with the person that truly needs it, because any interaction, you petting a dog that's a service dog, it interacting with another dog and potentially, maybe, who knows, getting into a fight, you are deflecting away from its duties. And it might have to even be retrained based upon that interaction. So,
or retired.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of dogs that have to be retired because they've had an incident or something has happened. So
that's not good.
Yeah.
And especially when knowing how expensive the training and behind and everything for that service dog to develop those skills.
Yeah.
The time and effort for
it. Yeah, it's not pretty when that happens, and it's frustrating and disheartening for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with the next question, it says, which should a handler focus on before they even think about certification? Is there a foundational skill or mindset?
So for us, we look for teams to being, one, educated on public service or public access, but also to understand their laws. So every state has some different rules and laws over service animals, no matter what the unpredictability of the human world. With something knowing of, dogs are consenting creatures. They are going to have bad days and good days just like we are. So it's not about your dog misbehaving or having an accident. It's about how to redirect it and make that a learning moment for your dog. It's embarrassing when your dog does an oops, whether it's an actual potty accident or it's hey, they jumped on something that they shouldn't have. But it's about redirecting it and getting them into, hey, this is what my expectation is. The other part of it too is, what are your tasks? How do you live your life by integrating your dog in your day-to-day task? And those tasks with disability, sometimes it's chronic and sometimes it's sporadic. So it's, how does your dog relate to you in those environments of your life? We really want people to keep it simple. In training philosophy, we oversee that we overcomplicate things as humans. So the more simple you focus on it, the easier and more successful you're going to be with your dog.
With the training, does that, I know that they train on the task at hand, but once a dog gets you to a calm state, are they also trained to go get help?
It depends on the person and it depends on what they want. So it's customizable. Like truly, that's the cool thing about service dogs. It's just really, what do you as the individual need your dog to be able to do? I have veterans that their dog checks to make sure no one's there, and if I have someone that has a psychiatric issue where they like, is that person real? Someone that has PTSD might need the dog to do deep pressure and then bump them when they start dissociating. It's all what you individually need, not necessarily there's a set rule of these are the tasks that all service dogs need to
have. Okay.
You know, this makes me think of with 9/11, you know, the reunion, not reunion, anniversary of 9/11, and they brought up the service dog that led his owner down 90 plus flights. I mean, it's amazing that he did it, because it's so amazing because, number one, I'm sure he was never trained.
No.
You know?
Right.
And he was able to do that, which amazing.
And it's about that human animal bond. When we live our lives with that one dog, when you live your life with, I mean, we all have our own pets, right? You all have that relationship. When we lose them, it's losing a family member. It's something that's very, very personal.
Yeah.
But when you have your dog with you and that gives you confidence in your day-to-day, dogs will surprise us every time. I have seen dogs do miraculous things in situations that I would have never guessed, because of the relationship that they have with their handler.
I think humans, on the most part, forget that you know, animals, all animals, have a certain level. Like a lot of people think if we don't train them, they don't know it. Well, you know, not only do they know it, but they also know how to do other things to help that situation. And so I think a lot of people just forget that aspect.
Yeah, they're consenting creatures.
Where do you see the working dog industry heading? And what role does Certify Canine play in shaping the future?
So, you know, it's interesting. This question, when I initially gave it to you guys last time we talked, I saw the industry going in a very different direction. And now with how, when we talk about the industry, we have to talk about politics, unfortunately, a little bit. So the world there's a lot going on right now. And so how do you train a dog to help support you when, you know, it could be a good day or a bad day, depending on what's happening in the world. I think accessibility is one of the biggest things in education. So liability is something that, from a business perspective, we are trying to help businesses have something that they can lean on to know, hey, here's credibility, here's something that helps me navigate this safely. A lot of times that's the biggest concern I hear is, what's the liability? You know, I love service dogs, we all love dogs, but what's the liability? Are we going to get sued? So from a handler perspective, it's, you don't have to spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for a service dog. You don't have to wait 3 years to have that service dog. Owner-trained service dogs plus foundationally trained service dogs are viable. And also, when we talk about like the emotional support dogs, if we really, and this is a controversial thought in the service dog industry, is I would say about 65% of those emotional support dogs really are doing something for that individual in a mental health capacity. So let's remove some of that stigma of mental illness and look at, how is this dog helping this individual? Now, most people don't want to diagnose themselves or say, hey, I have a disability. So it's teaching them the education behind it, but identifying your dog is helping you when you have anxiety in public. Your dog is helping you with everything that's going on in your personal life. Is that something that is a disability in mental health? And if it is, it's okay. You can have therapy, but you can also have a way to support yourself through that. So it's education. So how do we shape the future? Accountability and accessibility, I would say, are our biggest two words.
Okay. And that, you know, you brought up, you know, something really important that I would venture to say that there's probably more mental health issues that need service dogs than actual physical issues. Yes. Between, you know, all your all your soldiers alone with PTSD, with, you know, just people surviving a natural disaster with PTSD. Um, you know, it goes on, or even just an accident, you know, and having PTSD. That stuff is very, very real, and you can get triggered, and it can put you in a state of mind that something friendly like a dog to pull you out of those situations. You know, for some people, it's needed for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and
So I think you're
it's
right.
not a stigma. It doesn't have to be a stigma,
Right.
and it's acknowledging the issue, and that's the first step, right? It's acknowledgement. So it's, you know, dogs are amazing, and we all know that already, but they can do so much more if we are honest and aware, and that vulnerability is difficult, but we can do it.
Right. So with quick question, there are companies for you know, people who need service dogs. So would you also provide insurance and training? I guess not training, but would you provide insurance for the dogs that come out of those people's services or programs, I should say?
We can. The caveat that I say with that is we have to discuss who their trainer or who their organization was. So some organizations maintain ownership based off of their own rules. So we have an organizational coverage. So if you are a nonprofit organization that trains service dogs and place them, or help owners do the training process, we actually provide organizations that same coverage for their members. And that way their organization is not only covered, but their members are covered as well. But most organizations or trainers that do it individually will train you and kind of send you off on your way. And if that's again, we want to be mindful of everyone in the industry. We're not trying to step on toes. We're trying to bring everyone in together in the same group, so that it's a community, not a, hey, we own we own everything.
Right, absolutely. The last question we actually have, bring up my banner. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting their journey with working dog? Something you wish every new handler knew?
It's okay. Your dog's gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. The first 50 things are gonna happen, and it's about how you respond versus how you react. So taking that breath and trying again tomorrow is what I wish every new handler would know, because it's hard. It's terrifying. You have all eyes on you because you have a dog with you, you know. But take your time, find the right trainer for you. Watch. There's so many people talking about their experiences being a service dog handler. Watch their videos. Go search for it. Does it resonate with you? And if you have questions, ask. Most handlers are happy to teach. We want you to join in our group because it's really cool. But it makes such a difference. So ask questions, and it's okay to be terrified in this process. Anything new can be scary.
Right. Question that TSA agents should be trained on handling service dogs and pets, and how to help process them through the airport. That would decrease some of the anxiety, but I wanted to get both your opinion on that.
I mean, I think, to be honest with you, as far as the etiquette, as far as service animals, I think all across the board, everyone needs to get training on that and understanding to deal with people going through the security checkpoints and everything. I think they're aware of, as far as the requirements of what they need to do in reference to that. I think as far as the handlers for service animals and our pet owners need the education of knowing what to do to go through that security checkpoint is my requirements and what they need to do their job. If anything, like I said, etiquette, yes, but our pet owners and service animal owners, they need to understand the process and how to navigate through that whole process. It's just my thought.
Yeah, and if TSA gave like videos of, hey, this is what it's going to look like we've all seen what it looks like to go through TSA. So what does it look like when a dog goes through TSA? That you're right. It is the handler. Any TSA agent that I've worked with has always been generally courteous and helped through the process. They really don't question it. They go, yep, here's what we're doing. Here's how we do it. Off you go, and cool. It's the people. It's the handler.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Bryant, is there any other questions you'd like to ask Ms. Woody or about the question?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just happy you came back again, just to share more about service dogs and everything. I think we hit all the questions my brother-in-law drilled me with the other day and everything. So I'm glad you were able to kind of agree with me and what I said and everything. So, but no, I can't think of anything else. Like I said, do believe though, the general public needs to get a better understanding of service animals and their purpose, and then also to understand it too, that if you falsify this, the impact you're having on those who truly need it. I mean, I hate it. I feel like, and I don't know if it's U.S. only, but I just feel like everyone wants to do what they want to do. And as you said earlier, like no one wants to hear no, but there's no's for a reason. There's a no for a reason. You don't get everything you want in your way, and period. So I don't understand why we're dealing with situations where people falsify things like this. I just don't get it. So yeah. And
there's a path. There's a path for every person. It's just sometimes it's a different path than you expect. But thank you, ladies, for having me on your podcast again. It's always a pleasure, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone, if you want to learn more about Certify Canine and the great work that Ms. Woody is doing, please go to their website, certifycanine.com. And of course, you can reach out to Blake on the site to find out more information. And then you want to go follow them on Instagram as well as Facebook and LinkedIn, where it's the names Certified Canine. Now, Blake, you'll have to just clarify something real quick. When I pulled up your Facebook page, it gave this number, but if you type in Certified Canine, it should come up, I think.
Yes, it does. I don't know why it gives the profile number instead of the name, but you can find us as Certified Canine.
Okay, fantastic. Just wanted to clarify before I, said anything. But yes, plenty of questions, whether you're an individual handler with a service dog or even an organization training service dogs, please reach out to Blake Woody and Certified Canine about what you can do to do more or even get insured. And I'm sure Blake and her team can answer all of your questions. So for now, Blake, is there any last minute things you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, thank you again, ladies. And if you have questions, there's myself and a couple other organizations that are happy to educate and support you guys, whether it's service dog questions or therapy or facility dogs. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Well, everyone have a great weekend. This is the last Facebook Live for the month of September, but we will come back and see you in October with another full schedule of fantastic guests. So for now, good night and have a